Welcome everyone. Let us talk about data analysis and interpretation in today's video. So yes, what is the understanding of data? The data interpretation, if I say so, it basically does nothing but tries to study a pattern among the data sets that goes around it. Tries to find out information from random data that is made available to you. So data interpretation refers to the process of using diverse methods, and I'm talking about analytical methods to review data, to read data, to arrive at a certain pattern, certain conclusions, certain recommendation that you can based upon your studies and which are scientifically proven. The interpretation of data helps the researcher to categorize, manipulate, and probably collect in a particular fashion so that you can summarize the information to come up to certain answers, certain understanding of the data. So what are the scales that goes around there? Four scales: nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio. Now what are nominal? It's a non-numeric categories that can be ranked one after the other, which is the most important criteria, which is the most important parameter. How do I scale it out? What kind of weightages can be assigned to it? Then comes ordinal. This is completely full data set. If it is exclusive and exhaustive, but with a logical order, can we arrange it in a logical order, which has to be agreed upon by everyone? The ratings, the agreement ratings are example. So you can have somebody who has done it in an assessment as good, very good, excellent, fair, to be improved, can be improved, and so on and so forth. And that is what ordinal scale is all about it. So you are making a full exhaustive list of data sets around accordingly and thereby ranking it all together. Remember, nominal scale are exclusive and exhaustive. Nominal, the variables are exclusive and exhaustive, but ordinal, everything is exclusive. Everything, not only the variables, but not everything, all the data sets. Then comes the interval. Now, this is an interval which is a measurement scale which comes after certain point, certain degree, a certain interval, certain period differences that goes around it. But data are grouped within those period, within those interval, within those time span, so that you which are equal in distance, so that it makes sense in what is happening. They are always arbitrarily at a 0 point. Then comes the ratios. The ratios are nothing but a combination of nominal, ordinal, and interval scales. These are in between as to what kind of information that it churns around. So, how to interpret data? There are discerning correlations, there are causation, cause and effect, and then there are coincidences. So, analysts must differentiate between correlations. If it rains, should I take umbrella? Or if I take umbrella, will it rain? Correlation, discerning correlation, causation. Because it is raining, I will take umbrella. Coincidences. I just took an umbrella and it rained. So please understand the data sets. It's consideration of factor when interpreting data analysis to consider all the factors that may have contributed to a result. Various data interpretation methods, multiple methods are available for interpreting data, aiding in understanding of relationships, pattern. Purpose of data interpretation: data integration interpretation is designed to help to make sense of the numerical data collected and probably presented accordingly. So what are we looking into? We are trying to come up with a baseline method where every researcher, every analyst will not make a dispute. They have an understanding as in what. So having a baseline method for interpreting data provides the analyst teams with a structured and consistent foundation. Then, once you have established the baseline, can we have the mismatch data? Can we prevent them from having a focus around it? So, different approaches to interpret the same data across departments with the shared goals can lead to mismatch objectives. So, did I say of umbrella and rain? Somebody might put more emphasis on the umbrella, somebody might put more emphasis on the weather, and somebody might not be putting any emphasis. As a habit would always take an umbrella. So what are we looking into? So please understand that mismatch objectives. Two main methods. One is qualitative and the other one is quantitative, as the case may be. Quantitative refers to the numbers and numbers of data, as many people as many data sets that can be created. Qualitative is what we are talking about, limited numbers but actual data. So qualitative analysis involves the interpretation of non-numeric data, providing insight into patterns, into themes, into context. Quantitative analysis involves the use of numerical data to identify trends, relationships, and statistical significance. Benefits of consistent interpretation. Consistencies in data interpretation methods across department helps inconsistent, promote efficient solution and saves times and resources as on when on basis. Qualitative data interpretation uh, will be summed up in one word: categorical. One word, qualitative. It will signify one category and it will describe the whole data set in that particular categories only. So techniques are observation and focus group. Observation is wherein the analyst or a number of analysts will just observe as the things happen and what they make out of it. Then probably they might discuss it among themselves and come and arrive to a conclusion. Observation. Focus group, where you are looking, you might have a subject group with certain parameters which they are subjected to, and there will be another subject group, or should I say a non-subject group, which will work in the normal sphere of things. So in the focus and in these two focus groups, two groups, one under lab condition and one under natural conditions. How people are reacting, how things are coming up, what are the reactions. So you can understand very well. So yes, observations is detailed behavioral pattern that occurred within an observed group. These pattern could be amount of time spent in an activity, the type of activity, or the methods of communication employed. Focus group people and ask them relevant questions to generate collaborative discussions about the research topic. So this automatically brings into secondary research and interview. Secondary research is unlike a primary research, which has been done firsthand, but probably you're making a research on the primary research again. Much like how patterns of behavior can be observed. Various types of documentation. Remember, documentation regard things which have been already been researched. The primary research has been done, and you're studying the primary research and trying to make a sense and semblance of the thing around here. Interviews, one of the best collection methods, is the first primary research that comes around it. First-hand research, first-hand information, right? And believe me or not it's not sacrosanct that the interview is the best method, because an interviewer and interview, the technique might be wrong. The interview and interviewees might, one of the mood might not be the right place. Probably as such, the interview and interview, the language, there might be a barrier. So the respondents, the responses may not be aligned. So, but definitely one of the best methods of collection data. For the narrative data, inquiry responses can be grouped by theme, by topic, by category. The interview approach allows for highly focused data segment. Now, allow me to give you certain analysis. First and foremost thing is the content analysis. So you have a data sets, or let's say there's a subjective thing, reports, and you are going through reports after reports after reports in a primary data. One best method is what are the words which are frequently being used. It will tell you whether this is biased report or not. If you think of a lot of report, or should a report have is favoring one particular parameters or one particular group or one particular section against the other, you might be a biased report. If you are think there are ecstatic with certain words, certain keywords. Now, what I'm trying to do, I'm allowing you to make you understand what is content analysis. As the name suggests, this is research method used to identify frequency and recurring words, subject and concept in image, videos, and audio content. It transforms qualitative information into quantitative data to help in discovery of trends and conclusions that will later support important research and business decisions. This method is often used by marketers to understand brand sentiments from the mouth of the customer themselves thereby. Next come is the thematic analysis. Remember, this is what we are looking as a qualitative data as far as interviews are concerned, transcripts are concerned, survey questions are concerned. We are trying to find a collate data in a sequential fashion. Absolutely, on a thematic person to identify the pattern, to identify what is making sense, to understand what is the sentiment which is predominant in different groups, and try to identify the dissimilarities and similarities within them. Next is the narrative data. It is a bit specific, a bit complicated than the previous two, the content analysis and normative analysis, if I may say so. The two previous method, narrative analysis, is used to analyze stories, discover the meaning. These stories can be extracted, if I may say so, from testimonial, case studies, interviews, as a format gives the people more space to give the narrative thing. So we have normative analysis, we have content analysis based upon it, your understanding. If you go through those two methods only, you will have your own predicament, right? You will have your own biasness, you will be having your own judge, which might be on the right or wrong, but you will have to have an understanding of the incident. Then is the discourse analysis. This method is used to draw the meaning of any visual, written or symbolic languages in relation to the context, be it social, be it political, be it cultural or historical. It is used to understand how context plays a predominant role. It can affect the languages. So I am talking to you. I am taking this session on the video, right? You are taking it, but had will it be the same energy that we would have put in when if we would have a face-to-face interaction? Probably not. Which is better? So you need to understand the context. In this case, it's a video mode. In that case, it would be face to face. The grounded theory analysis, the fifth one, approaches at creating and discovering new theory by carefully, remember, treading small, steady path and evaluating the data available. Unlike all other qualitative approaches on this list, grounded theory analysis helps in extracting conclusion, hypothesis from the data instead of going into analysis and define hypothesis thereby. And that is what we are trying to go around here. Quantitative data interpretation. Look, what is we looking into it? Quantitative, we have a number of data, huge number of data. So can we, what can we do? We can have an average understanding of what the response is all about it. And that is what is meant by mean. Now, that's the average understanding. And there might be other responses also, right? Other responses also. So the responses from this, from the average, there is a deviation, and that is doing the standard deviation. Another statistical term commonly appearing in quantitative analysis. So what are the standard deviation that occur? Then there's a frequencies. You remember the time interval that we were speaking around it? Frequencies. This is a measurement of gauging the responses generating within the data sets. Frequencies, as in how many times this the word occurs, how many times the responses coincide with the same response. There is a regression analysis. Essentially, it is the historical data to understand a relationship between the dependent variable, one or more independent variable. Cohort analysis. This methods identify a group of users who share a common characteristic during a particular time period, and that is what cohort analysis is. A group of people. The group of people would have predominant ideas. Another group of people would have another predominant idea. These two predominant idea may coincide or may have in conflict with one another, or there might be slight variation here and there. So this is what quantitative data analysis or data interpretation will let us know. So predictive analysis, as the name suggests, it will help me to predict what is going to happen in due courses of time. Prescriptive analysis, also an offshoot of predictive analysis. Prescriptive methods will give me a graphical analysis, complex event processing, and neural network, among others, to try unravel the effect of future decisions will have in order to adjust them before they are actually been made. Then there's something called conjoint analysis, typically applied to survey analysis. The conjoint application or approach is to analyze how individual value individual parameters in a different fashion. So, be it focus, be it services, be it the brand of a company, be it the quality of the product, be it the price of the product, be it the availability of the product, be it the service of the product, conjoint analysis, every respondent, every participant will have different weightages. Somebody would be very sensitive to price, somebody would be very sensitive to availability of the product, somebody might be very sensitive to the brand altogether. This will help researchers and businesses to define pricing, product features, packaging, and other attributes. Then we have the cluster analysis. Last but not the least, method is used to group objectives into a particular category. Since there are no target variable, there's no predominantly a target variable, the cluster analysis will help us to understand which is the predominant variable. As a researchers, I don't, when I do a color cluster analysis, I don't say the umbrella or the rain, I don't say the price or the quality, I don't say the availability or the location, but I would love to study that group and try to find which is a predominant factor that comes around it. And that is what cluster analysis is all about it. So data interpretation helps us to make right decisions or arrive into a decision. The decision might turn out to be wrong, but as far as decision is concerned, you have certain facts and figures which rationalizes your brain to take a particular decision. So informed decision making. It is trying to identify the trends. It is trying to anticipate the need. Next is cost efficiency and clear foresightness. Did I say I might take a decision and the decision might not turn right? It might actually turn wrong. But when I take a decision, I have certain data set, I have certain data interpretation, I have certain data analysis done. At that moment, the analysis might tell me this is the way to go forward. So at my point, from my point of view, I'm not playing giving weightage to my emotions, but the rationale. Believe me or not, 90% of the time, if you're going by your rationale, your decision would turn out correct. So common analysis and the problem of interpretation thereby. First, the correlation mistaken for causation. So umbrella and rain, there is a correlation, but it does not. Because I take an umbrella, there will be rain, or because there's a rain, I might have to take an umbrella. There is no causation. Confirmation biasness. People, believe me or not, everybody has a biasness. Somebody might like to have a sweet tooth, somebody would like to have a salty food, somebody would like to have heavy breakfast, somebody would like to skip a breakfast. Confirmation bias. What are we looking? These people are biased to certain things. Why heavy breakfast and why somebody skips a breakfast altogether? So we are a kind akin to a certain biasness within ourselves, and that biasness might creep up during our data interpretation or data analysis part. And then there is something called the redundant data, the obsolete data, the irrelevant data, which might make its presence felt and skew the result altogether. These are the mistakes, these are demerits. The problems are truncating and access. Now, what is happening is, despite what the data analysis would be coming around it, if we are biased and if we are favoring certain things, if history tells me in a particular month there would be severe rain in a particular month, believe me or not, severe rain. So I am uh, mentally ready that there would be rain in that particular month. But believe me, it was in history. This year or probably next year, that particular month, there would not be such heavy rains or very little rain in the first place. So you cannot have faith that what has happened in the past will actually happen in the future. Next is a problem with the sample size. Often a researcher comes up with a sample, often a researcher comes up with a conclusion over a very small data sets, which might not replicate the whole population. Wrong interpretation would come about. Then comes the reliability and subjectivity, which is all to be skewed one way or the other way, and the generalizability thereby. So technique, first and foremost, the techniques of data interpretation always ask the relevant question, the right question. To ask the right question, first Be ready, be prepared with the objective of your study. From the objective, try to figure out back as to what question needs to be asked. Collect the answers, summarize those answers, and segregate those answers. Use the right data visualizations and type. You should be using a regression model or a correlation model or standard deviations or the frequency model, as the case might be. Start interpreting every time a data comes into it. Does it add certain things? Keep your interpretation as objective as possible. Never involve your emotion. Make your findings and your conclusion public altogether. That's the right method of doing data analysis. With this, I come to an end of this presentation. Thank you for watching this video.